is I've just dubbed this one Brent's Minnow. Here's an orange wing version. Is that close enough for everyone?
Yeah.
Have a look at. Mainly tied with a grizzly or an olive hackle, but I've played around with every conceivable feather colours. That's one that I've got sitting on the bench that hasn't got in my box yet. So we'll start off tying one of these. Again, another simple pattern. Hook I like to use for this is a Gamakatsu L11 S3H, which I now use for probably 90% of my Grim flies, or the SL, the silver version, just depending on whatever. It's sharp. This hook's very, very sharp, very sticky sharp. Salt water corrosion resistant. It's just brilliant. So it's fairly straightforward flight. Only a couple of materials on it. So put our hook in our jaws. I use a 6/0 thread, so either 6/0 uni or olive in UTC 140. And start with, we're going to run a base of thread, and then we're going to tie in some dumbbell eyes. So I'm going to tie one with fluoro orange dumbbells. These are a 532 dumbbell eye. The only thing is, when we tie this in, we want to leave it. You want to leave about 1 centimetre from the eye of the hook to where you tie the bead in, just so you've got enough room to finish in the head. So we'll whip that in on top of the hook. And yes, I would normally put super glue in here, but this one will be going into my box, and I'll well and truly lose it before that becomes an issue. So let's just glue in. This fly is made up out of whitebait yarn, which is a softer version of a leech yarn. So it's a synthetic and natural fur yarn. So we're going to tie on a tail. Now, to tie on a tail, we'll just take some of the fibres out of the yarn, and we'll pull them together, we'll straighten the fibres out. We'll tie in a tail so it protrudes about 1 inch past the bend of the hook, and where you tie that in, just fold that back on itself. It's just a sparse tail, it just helps start to form the body there.
So you got some of your fibres, did you say?
Yeah, just the fibres off the yarn. So just pull, grab one end of the yarn, and you can take one end of the yarn there, and you can just pull some of the fibres out of the actual yarn. I'll just wait for people to catch up, because I'm probably a bit quicker at whipping on eyes than...
That's a synthetic yarn or a wool yarn, is it?
It's a mix. It's one that I had made up, a lady to spin it up for me, so it's a mixture of synthetic and natural fibres.
Brendan, am I allowed to offer an alternative?
Yeah, if you're going to use an alternative, I'd use mohair yarn. So a leech yarn.
Yep. So if everyone looks at my...
that'll work too, yep. Any of those yarns.
So that's just a spotlight yarn, I think it's the same. So I only just got it because it's on special at the moment, and I'm a cheapskate. So truly badly mohair blend from Spotlight.
There'll be enough there for a lifetime. The other thing you could use, you could just literally, if you've got Angora goat dubbing,
yeah,
you could make the body out of that as well. Got the tails tied in, or I'll wait by the looks of that.
How long a tail did you say, mate?
About 1 inch. Probably fractionally longer with the little tip bits, but about 1 inch.
Okay.
Brent, that leech yarn I've got to nearly do the same trick, wouldn't it?
Exactly right. They're the same stuff. This stuff's just a little bit more bulky, but if you've got any of the Wapsi leech yarn or the Canadian leech yarn, which is no longer available in most colours, any of those will do it.
How long was your tail? About an inch, was it?
About an inch, Craig. It'll work out a little bit longer than that when you tease the fibres out. Some of the fibres will be longer, that's fine.
Cool.
Using the same stuff that Steve's got, so I'll be see how that comes out.
It's all pretty much the same stuff. All right, so once we've done our tail, I'm going to take your yarn, whatever you're using, whether it be whitebait yarn or a leech yarn. Now, biggest mistake I see most people make that can't form a decent body, double it over before you start. Double it over. You'll have loose ends here everywhere. Before you go to tie them in, cut it off flat. It'll make your life much easier. Then tie it in on top of your hook or the side of your hook. It doesn't really matter. Tie it back to your tail. And then bring your thread forward with your dumbbell eyes. I'll wait for people to tie that in before we do the next step.
Just tie it in right at the tail, was that, Brett?
Yeah, all the way back to the tail.
Yep. Okay, tie it in the eyes and tie it back.
Yeah, it's just so you're tying it along.
Yeah, normal way, yeah, that's right.
If you don't tie enough of it in, it's all these are spun on multiple threads. So if you don't catch one of the threads, when you're pulling on it, you'll unravel them, whether it's yarn, a Wapsi leech yarn, or whatever you may be using.
Yep, done.
All right. Once you've done that, grab hold of it, keep it firm, grab your Velcro or your dubbing teaser, and you actually want to start teasing all the fibres out before you wind it on.
Right.
Most people will just grab this yarn and wind it round, and then trying to tease it out or, get an even body is a bit of a nightmare. Tease it out so you've got it relatively even. Pull all your fibres back. Right, is that standing out against my shirt, but it's back?
Yeah.
Right. As you go forward, pull the fibres back. So your turns want to touch as you go forward. And you may even find as you get towards the eye of the hook, you haven't quite teased enough out. So hold it up, keep tension. Tease more out. When you get to sort of half a turn or within a turn of the eyes, go underneath. So you don't want to wind hard up, so you want to leave a little bit of space. And what we're doing is going underneath, and then we're going to come back through the eyes, and then forward. So we're cloaking over the eyes. I'm going to tie that off, and I'll cut it off and show you.
Right.
What we've done is we're leaving, so this is cloaking over the eyes and through the eyes, covering up thread wraps. You can see that. We just form a nice little head in front of that, like a nice bed of thread. And before
did you figure eight that, Brad, or just?
No, figure eight over here. No, it's just one wrap.
Right.
To bring it up to the dumbbell eyes, bring it underneath and back over the eyes. So what we'll do is take that off there. Grab another set of eyes. So when we're getting up to here, can everybody see those dumbbells all right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So when we're getting up to here, we're actually going under, we're going back up, over and back, through the eyes, and then forward again.
Yeah. Tie off in front of the eyes.
Tie off in front of the eyes. So what you're doing is forming a cloak over your eyes.
Yeah.
Please.
Wait for everybody to get that tied off.
So it sort of forms a bit of a head over the top of your
Yeah, you're cloaking it.
yeah.
Month 1, 2, and 3 didn't have that done, and I was playing around ways. That's just by far the easiest way to integrate everything, because then it makes a cloak over underneath as well.
Yep.
And by doubling it over before you use it, obviously it'll also depend on what type of yarn you're using, to how bulky the fibres are, to how it works.
Yeah.
So once you've tied it off at the front, again, take your Velcro or your dubbing teaser and Velcro the crap out of it, really. Like, pull it all out and you'll form a nice sort of bait fish profile. Much the same as I tie my little white bait pattern that I think I've tied before for the club. Where's everybody up to?
I think I'm doing all right.
With you.
I won't move on until everybody's sort of got that bit completed.
Yeah, I think I'm there.
Yeah, I think I'm with you.
So either rotate your vise if you're using a rotary vise, or turn your hook upside down so the point's facing up. Next, going to use 2 cape feathers or 2 saddle feathers, whatever you've got on hand. The reason I've got here is I generally pick one from the left and one from the right of the cape. I just find that easier to get them to lay where I want them. It's not a necessity at all. So you can either use 2 best colours I've found are olive, grizzly olive, or natural. Was that there?
Oh,
So I'm going to take 2 feathers. You want feathers that are sort of 3 inches long, 2.5, because all we're going to do with these is tie them on top of the hook, either side, facing back, one either side of the hook. And where we measure it to is where we've left the tail. We want the first one just to meet where the tail fibres finish. So where I've got this one here, the red one, you can see tail fibres finish here, and the feathers are just finishing in line where that is there. So by doing that, we tie one in on one side, so facing back to one side. You can always tie them slightly longer because it's easier to slide them into place just with a little tension pulling them back.
Yeah.
Now, it doesn't matter. Sometimes your feather will sit straight up and down like that, and sometimes it'll want to lay flat, depending on what sort of feather you're using, and it doesn't really matter. Once they're in the water, they both swim the same, but it's just good if you can get them to lay reasonably even and flat. It'll stop with twisting and wrapping on the hook. So if you can see, I'll put that, where's the camera? Yeah, a bit hard to see the barb, but just so they're back level with the fibres. Once you're happy with where they are, you can trim off feathers, build up your thread for your head.
All right.
Gives you your finished fly. The feathers will want to sit up a little bit to start with. Once they get in the water, they get wet. You have no issues with that whatsoever. but it actually swims really well in the water as a bait fish pattern. The feathers move independent, giving life, and the silhouette of the grey underneath has been very, very effective.